Let's fucking go.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Comic Man Movie Show. My name is Deshaun and today I'm here to talk about the wonderful, wonderful news that came out just a couple days ago. That Sony has finally saw the error of their ways. They have finally come to the logical conclusion that we all came to right around the same time Morbius had came out. Right around the time that the post-credit scene in Morbius had a character that didn't even exist in that universe making an appearance, having dialogue so bad that it almost made Michael Keaton's Vulture from Spider-Man Homecoming look like shit, look like straight garbage in retrospect. They almost ruined a good character. After Morbius, I think we all kind of came to the same conclusion that Sony needs to back the fuck off of this stuff. Because, first of all, the big news that came out is Sony is basically, they're calling it quits. They're done. They're done with this whole Marvel, this Sony Marvel universe. The Sony Marvel universe is dead. They will not be continuing to make these movies after Kraven. And some reports say that they may try it again. They may take a step back and like just talk to some people and try to see if they can still do this, if they can somehow come at this a different way, which I don't like hearing that at all. I have no faith in Sony. Like, only thing Sony has done on their own without the MCU that's been good is, outside of the video games, is the Into the Spider-Verse. And I've told this story a billion times. I don't know how many times I have to tell it. Into the Spider-Verse was an accident. Into the Spider-Verse and Venom, to be honest. I don't even like the Venom movies, but both of that movie, but Into the Spider-Verse in particular, was an accident. If you remember the year Into the Spider-Verse was coming out, there was a movie that was coming out at the same time. It was either maybe a little bit before it or a little bit after it. But at the year that Into the Spider-Verse was coming out, there was another movie Sony was producing called The Emoji Movie. And Sony heavily, cause a lot of people say the same thing, cause we all agree that Into the Spider-Verse was an amazing movie. I think it's potentially the greatest comic book movie of all time, in my personal opinion. Into the Spider-Verse, and that's me being an MCU guy. It's in my top 5 greatest comic book films of all time, bar none. I love the original Into the Spider-Verse. Beyond the Spider-Verse, or Spider-Verse, the last one that came out was great too, but I think that first one has a special place in my heart. And people ask the same question, why didn't it make more money? You know what I mean? In a time where animated movies are making over $1 billion, Inside Out 2 just made it $2 billion, and that didn't even come out in a time that came out after COVID. So why did Into the Spider-Verse not make more money? And the reason is because it wasn't marketed very well. And the reason Into the Spider-Verse wasn't marketed very well is because, you can look this up, Sony believed in the Emoji Movie more than they did Into the Spider-Verse. So they promoted the Emoji Movie more. And go figure, the Emoji Movie was a poop emoji. And, we kind of all forget about that. But I never did forget about that. So I never really ever gave Sony credit for Into the Spider-Verse, because Lord and Miller were able to just kind of do their own thing because Sony wasn't paying attention to what the fuck they were doing. So then it became this great thing. And, Sony ain't stupid. They stupid, but they ain't that stupid to fuck with something that works. But I digress. Outside of Into the Spider-Verse, we have gotten the Venom movies, which the last Venom movie, Venom Last Dance, was so bad I didn't even review it. Honestly, I was just like, no. Legit, I was just like, no. This is just stupid to me. It was just so stupid that I literally was just like, nah, I'm good. I don't even want to think about it. Because I'm not the type of guy, when I don't like something, really don't like something, I'm not the type of guy to sit here and just bash it over and over and over and over again. I'm not going to make a billion videos talking shit about I don't like the Venom movies. Not really. I didn't mind Let There Be Carnage. Let There Be Carnage had moments, but overall I wasn't a fan, and I really wasn't a fan of the last one. But I'm not the type of guy to make a bunch of videos about that particular thing, like harping on it. But, so, we get to Kraven. We get to Kraven, and we hear all kinds of things about Kraven. We hear, like, they're going to make it rated R. They're changing the date to put it out closer to the holidays because they think they might have a hit. Everyone's talking about this movie. There are some people who like the trailers for it. Now, Kraven is one of Spider-Man's best villains in his rogue gallery. You know what I mean? At least because when they announced fucking Morbius, we were all like, why? When they announced Morbius and Madam Web, we were like, why? There was a big question mark. Now, Kraven, on the other hand, you can theoretically make a Kraven movie. Theoretically. So, like, even me, I had a bit of hope for that movie. And I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen the Kraven movie yet. And I still may. If for nothing, just because it's the last movie in that franchise, and I'm hearing it is super bad. Like, because I've heard it is bad. Like, it is really, really bad. I've heard so many people just talk about how bad the movie is that I'm just like, I don't know if I want to go waste my money on seeing this shit. You know what I mean? Like, the movie was so bad that they just quit. like, it'd be one thing if I was hearing, oh, it was terrible, but then Sony was coming out promoting it, and Sony was pushing for it, and maybe there was a DLC in a video game, or I don't know, something. You know, what if they were like, oh man, you can play Spider-Man 2 on PlayStation, but you can play it, and he can have the Kraven the Hunter skin from the movie. Like, if they were promoting it, and it was like, they were still pushing it, I might go see it just because, like, okay, well, I mean, people, they're still talking about it. It may be a failure, it may not be a failure, but fuck, they're still talking about it, they're still harping on about it. Like, it was like kind of like Madam Web, because, like, people kept talking about Madam Web. They kept talking about it. So I was like, well, shit, I want to see it. Regret seeing it, but I still wanted to see it. Same thing with this. It's like, man, but this is the opposite, because I heard nothing but negative about Kraven the Hunter, but I digress. Sony, this movie is a result of this movie because it's not doing well financially. Because, you know, regardless of the opinion, if the movie was doing well financially, you can bet your ass Sony would still be, you know, wouldn't say a goddamn thing. But it didn't. It's not. It's gonna make less than Madam Web, which means it's gonna be it's not only gonna be it's gonna be a bomb at the box office. It's already a critical bomb. I think the movie is at like 21% on Rotten Tomatoes, which to me, Rotten Tomatoes isn't everything. I know most people will say that, but at a certain point, a score can get low enough that it actually starts to become something. You know what I mean? Like, I will never argue with someone that Ant-Man Quantumania doesn't, to an extent, deserve that rating it got. Like, sure, maybe I would say it's more in the 50s than the 30s, but I can't argue that Ant-Man Quantumania would be a rotten movie. If someone said that Thor: The Dark World was a rotten movie, I couldn't argue with you about that. We can't conversate about that. It is what it is. But movies that get that low, you know it's not good. And I'm just like, I don't know if the movie started off with like a 12%, so I don't know if I want to go see it, but I digress. There's also a small rumor that's been kind of bubbling up as of yesterday that Sony may be looking to sell the rights to Spider-Man back to Marvel/Disney. Now, I highly doubt this is true. Sony is making far too much money off of the Spider-Man IP. Granted, on its own with like some of the movies, maybe their individual like Sony-verse movies aren't making bank, but the Venom franchises alone are technically a billion-dollar franchise. I mean, technically, I think all three Venoms combined are something like $1.8 billion, something like that. So the Venom franchise alone, the three movies, have almost already kind of made them over $1 billion, at least like $1.5 billion. So the Venom franchise on its own has been profitable for them. And the Spider-Verse movies have been profitable, although the first one wasn't as profitable as the second one. You know, they're not like, although the Spider-Verse movies aren't, like I said, aren't Pixar, aren't Moana, aren't, you know, Disney movie level profitable. They're just profitable. You know, sadly, for as great as those movies are, they don't make bank. They make good they make good money, but they don't make the bank that you would expect them to make, considering how great they are. But Sony is still making good profit off of that. Plus, I think they pocket something like 70%, something like that, of the take on the combined MCU movies or something like that. So they're making bank off of that. So not Into the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man No Way Home, they're getting like, out of that $2 billion, they're getting like $1 billion and some change of that shit. Like, I don't know if they're going halvesies or Sony's getting a little bit more on that deal, but regardless of which, they're making bank on those movies as well. There's no real reason for them to truly give up their also they're making money off the video games. So there's no real reason to give up, the rights, because, there's a reason that, like, for a long time, like, no other company was able to do anything with Spider-Man because Sony owned Spider-Man, like, video game rights too. Now, Marvel, Disney owns the merchandising rights, which is really where the money is, to be honest with you. Like I remember, I think I saw someone say, I feel like Sony might be more willing to sell the rights to Marvel if they got a percentage of the merchandise rights. Because that's where the money is. That's billions of dollars of revenue without doing anything. Spider-Man is, I'd say, the third most recognizable superhero in the world, right behind Superman and Batman. It's Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man. They're the trinity of recognizable superheroes. Their merch sells better than anyone. They sell billions of dollars worth of merchandise on Spider-Man, Superman, and Batman a year. And Marvel's basically been Marvel/Disney has basically been pocketing billions of dollars in merchandising a year simply off the Spider-Man IP that technically they can't really do anything other than get the merch off of it. So there is a potential chance that if Disney's willing to sell some of those merchandising rights, which I highly doubt they are, they may be able to get the Sony rights back. I know Kevin Feige and everyone at Marvel, and they've reported on this, Deadline, all people have reported on this, have been trying to get the rights to Spider-Man back for years so they can do what they want. I've always said that on top of everything else that has gone wrong with the beginning of phases 4 and 5, is the big thing, one of the things that kind of like people forgot about, and it was a big deal at the time, is the fact that Feige can't truly, because Feige, the vibe I got off of some of the Spider-Man movies, particularly Far From Home, at the end of Endgame, the vibe I've always gotten is that Kevin Feige wants to build the MCU around Spider-Man. He really does. He wanted Spider-Man to replace Iron Man. I know there's a lot of people who would say he wanted Chadwick Boseman and Chadwick Boseman's Black Panther, Captain Marvel, and Doctor Strange. He wanted Spider-Man to replace Iron Man in terms of the central character in his universe. But since they don't have the rights, Sony can they can't do what they want to do. We already heard about the new Spider-Man 4 movie and how Marvel wanted to make a grounded street-level movie, and Sony wanted to make this crazy and Sony wanted to make another No Way Home. And I've already talked many times about how Spider-Man No Way Home wasn't supposed to be this multiversal movie. Sony kind of forced Marvel's hand there too. So Feige can't make him the central character like he wants to. But if the MCU/Marvel/Disney were able to get their hands on the Spider-Man IP, at least get more control of it, then I feel like you would see him go in that direction. Because they already are sort of doing that. We've already heard the rumors about how central Spider-Man's going to be in the next Avengers movie. And essentially, Peter's going to be the lead of the Avengers movies going against Robert Downey Jr.'s Doctor Doom. So I'm just like, I hope those sell rumors are at least, maybe, like I said, I don't think Sony will ever truly fully sell it. But I do think it would benefit them, it'd benefit us, and it'd benefit Marvel Studios if Sony were willing to do some type of deal where they gave over at least most control over the direction of the character to Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige. You can still have your percentages, you can still make your money, just give over control because you don't know what the fuck you're doing with this IP. Anyways, what do you guys think about Sony finally pulling a plug on their cinematic universe or whatever the fuck they think it was? Comment below and let me know. And do you think they will sell the rights back to Marvel, or do you think they won't? I hope they do, but who fucking knows? Anyways, thank you guys again. See you on the next one. Goodbye.